Yes, this is Nigeria. Our country must continue to make all the necessary sacrifices as an individual, as a government, as a people. I think it was only yesterday we were talking about power and authority. Yes, the power resides in you, and you transfer it to the authority, the one they call constituted authority in Oyo, no, okay, not Oyo State, everywhere, constituted authority. All right, yes, welcome back. This is the Citizens Forum segment on the Daybreak Show. We're going to the main topical issue this morning, and we'll be looking at government. Is it government really, or the people in government, or the people as government? Yes, we'll be visiting again the anti-corruption, the corruption war of the present administration. And not too long ago, I think it was last week or some days ago, Mr. President came out to tell Nigerians that fighting corruption in Nigeria is actually more difficult, stressful, time taking, needs more intelligence than fighting the Boko Haram war. Well, a lot of people, including international communities, have given it to this administration that they've done well in fighting this insurgency in this country. What is left are just remnants of those people that are very difficult to fight. So, if the president who's been able to fight Boko Haram that heated up before now for about 5 years, the other government were not able to deal with, and in just less than 2 years, or about 2 years, dealt with it to the point in which he gets credit for it. He's now complaining that even that feat it's easier to achieve than fighting corruption in Nigeria. Yes, and yes, people will say Nigeria itself is corruption. Remember that phrase, Nigeria is a fantastically corrupt nation made possible by a former prime minister. Of course, people will also say every Nigerian is corrupt, or almost every Nigerian is corrupt. So we know how to twist it, we know how to redefine it. Therefore, it will be wrong to point accusing figures at those who are there because they are products of the people. That's why I said the government as the people, because they are also products of the people. So if our president is seen to be mourning against that, is it that indeed corruption can never be fought, at least with substantial level in this country? Or is it that this present government is applying a wrong medication, the tactics is wrong? Or is it that all of us are not cooperating, or many of us are not cooperating with this administration? Or is it that we have just decided to remain corrupt? Whichever one you think, that's why we are here this morning, and that's what we want to look at. Once again, Dele Ayodo is my name.
And I am Chienye Egwuonwu saying welcome. And then we are looking at all that. We need to know if the anti-corruption war is still on track, and then if we have any results so far.
All right, and to do that with us is a sociologist, educationist. Is actually from the Department of Sociology and Education Studies, Social Studies and Education of the Federal College of Education here at Oshele, Abeokuta. It's my pleasure to welcome you, Dr. Rasheed Adetoro, to the Daybreak Show. Good morning.
It's a pleasure, the moderator, for bringing me to the show this morning.
All right, let me start from the statement of Mr. President, um, trying to compare his fight against the insurgents Boko Haram with corruption. Is it a sign that is also giving it to those who are saying fighting corruption in Nigeria is almost impossible?
Well, if you look at corruption is attitudinal. It interests me to read recently about the research output of a UK-based group of researchers who found out that in Nigeria, when they did their research in May, just May this year, the report came out, that everybody, almost virtually all Nigerians, don't see anything wrong in abuse of office and all this nepotism and the like that surround elements of corruption in our society. According to them, it's like it has become cultural. And anything that is cultural, you see, that is, it has become part and parcel of the lifestyle of the people. It will take some time before you get alternative, appreciated, and internalized by the same group of people. It will take some time, not a war of 10 years, not even 20 years.
How long is too long?
If we say it is too long, you know, culture is built over time. That is it.
Okay, let me.
Okay.
Okay, why do you think fighting corruption is difficult? Is it that we have not adopted the right approach, or we have anyone to blame for its difficulty in fighting corruption?
The issue is that virtually all Nigerians, including myself, we always believe that anybody in authority, in power that is elected is going there to share national cake and bring to our communities. And from that perception, it's like we are all aiding and abetting corruption. We believe that going into office is going to bring largesse for a particular community. And from that point of view, you see that everybody believes that taking what you find in the office, appropriating it in a nepotic way to satisfy your own self-centeredness is nothing bad than it's an opportunity. So in such a case, it's cultural. When it becomes cultural, it will take not less than a decade to change such a cultural attitude.
For the purpose of this discussion, let us agree that it's cultural, because that means it's a part of us, and that it will take a long. But there are facts here and there that many cultures have been modified.
That's true.
Some have been completely exterminated.
That's true.
To fit into the current lifestyle of the people.
That's true.
So, what method should government now adopt to change this culture of corruption?
Well, they are only being monolithic. The government itself is being monolithic, whereas they need what I want to call eclectic approach. Eclectic in the sense that they will need to study all various factors, all various agencies that promote corruption. That was what the consortium of researchers did in UK. They looked at the various agencies of a community, the family, the school, the religious institution, the mass media also. What are their own contributory aspects to corruption? And you will take the whole aggregate and you ensure that you are also fighting corruption using these various agencies. Not just one attack. The one attack is a kind of sanction approach. Good enough, that should be sanctioned when somebody has offended. But initially, the person might have not even believed or appreciated the fact that he is committing a crime against the society. So, therefore, you need a multifaceted approach. Looking at the family, how has the family been encouraging corruption? Looking at the school, how has the school been encouraging corruption? Looking at the mass media, how has the mass media promoting corruption? Looking at the religious institutions, how are the religious institutions also contributing to promote corruption? Not looking at what I would call the offense, particularly. Attack the offense. If you attack the offense, what about what is already inbuilt in the various agencies of the community, which you still need to change if actually you want to achieve sustainability in fighting corruption?
Looking at crime, what do you regard as crime?
Well, corruption is one aspect of crime because it involves abusing office, taking what belongs to all for yourself, or appropriating things or materials of office in a nepotic manner. And of course, the most common is this embezzlement, misappropriation of funds.
Okay, all these are criminal and corruption. Now, let's look at the statement of the president. Um, the statement is that fighting Boko Haram is easier in Nigeria than fighting corruption. And the common phrase, when you fight corruption, corruption fights back. Some people have said the president is mourning and is a sign that he no longer has the capacity to fight that corruption. He's been overwhelmed, almost consumed by the fight. Is it fair on the president or the administration for somebody to regard the statement as a sign of mourning from Mr. President?
It's just very unfortunate. Our president had a military background. That's why he believes that everything dealing with society can only be resolved through the gun fiat. Whereas anything that deals with attitude, you have to attack it from attitudinal change point of view. And one, awareness, sensitization, and education are very paramount. Even fighting poverty will also help you, because you find out that this corruption that we are talking about, people.
So before we go to that,
Okay.
I want you to address that point.
Okay.
Those who believe that the president appears to be giving up is now mourning.
He's mourning because the expectation of Mr. President is no longer realizable. He thought he has forgotten that it's not leading.
So you agree that he's mourning?
Yes, actually, because the right support that he expected from all Nigerians is no longer there, because fighting one today. Do you know that it will even interest you that the judiciary are saying that they have immunity over being tried for corruption, except when they leave the office? So I could say also, as I
will still wait for that to be tested.
I should also have an immunity because I'm a nation builder. If everybody will have immunity, then where do we get it right?
If the president is mourning at this point, does that make him a good leader?
It portends danger to us, and it portends the fact that our government is not always research focused. That's the thing. The man is using his background to fight an ailment in the society, whereas his background is only one way, one out of multivarious, multifaceted approaches to solve societal problems. I just want to appeal to Mr. President. You should call a consortium of researchers to help him out. It's attitudinal. It is culture bound, so it will take time. But there are some institutional framework that he can put in place. Thank God he has strengthened the institution of EFCC. That is the sanction procedure. What about reforming procedure? He has not touched those areas.
Which procedures? Which areas?
For example, he has not strengthened the institution of training.
Training who?
Training human beings. The school system. What is the school system contributing to promote corruption? What about value orientation? You see, when something is about attitude, it's about behavior. You have to touch the behavior of the people. You have to change it. You have to bring alternative to change what is already inherent in their mind that is dirty, and change it with a positive attitude. And it is the school that can do that. The school is part of this mess currently. And they seem to close their eyes to the school system. They are not even funding the school system. Have you not been hearing of shortfall allocation to various school systems? And that is why even the best brains are running away from from our society. The people who could have contributed to ensure that they bring the right sensitization, the right awareness in terms of positive attitude to life, in terms of integrity, promoting self-actualization rather than materialism that we are all worshiping today. Mr. President neglects that institution, neglects the family institutions that are already poverty-ridden. You see, forget about this national empowerment they are doing, all these things they are showcasing. These are stop-gaps things. Actually, they are not getting to the root. That is the problem. That is the challenges they are.
So what would be your recommendation for government to get to the root? Because we have governments at all levels.
Let me tell you, all the best practices of the world, the so-called advanced countries, they don't just pick up recommendations from their own personal perception. They allow recommendations, they take on recommendations from the gamut of research outputs. For example, I've identified various agencies that contribute to corruption in Nigeria. The government agencies is addressing that using the sanction approach. What about the other agencies, the family, that are already poverty-ridden, that at citing even a loaf of bread, they are ready to sell, mortgage their conscience? What about the school system that is also perverting the right type of education? What about the mass media that is also pre-singing the money bags?
And then let's look at the school system. Now, some people will say, or is a common phrase to say, it's what you have that you give. And it's garbage in, garbage out. So within the school system, that's as much as they can offer. And it will be difficult for Mr. President to put that in the school. I'm talking of the products of the school itself and the producers of the products.
If you are saying all this, that means there is no hope. Because every society that develops actually makes their own school to be the propeller of development. If there are bad elements in the school system, why don't we put...
No, I'm not talking of bad in the definition of bad. I don't think bad is the word I want to use when I said product and product. I think what I want to use is the competence.
The competence.
Yes, the ability of the school to turn out a competent product, which the producer itself cannot give because it's also not competent.
It's not that the producers cannot give. It's what the society wants to emphasize: certificate orientation, not attitudinal orientation. You know,
because
we have three domains. We have three domains of learning in any school system: the cognitive, the affective, which is the behavioral, then the psychomotor, which is the skill. In most cases, we emphasize the cognitive in the school system at the expense of the affective and the psychomotor. It's not that the producers don't know the other two, but what we do is that we always think about, please just roll them out, let them have certificates, let's admit other.
So why then are you blaming Mr. President or government for that? Because if people are seeing this as a profession, a calling, and knows that whatever they are turning out will have a long-term effect on the entire system, the family, like we mentioned, the culture, and of course government agencies. So
I'm blaming...
why are they ready to just turn out anything for the purpose of turning out something?
Because the right motivation are not there. The right motivation is not there. For example, you find out that in our system, it's more of cognitive learning in the school system at the expense of affective training and psychomotor training. You find out that even our curriculum has some defects. Look at what led to crisis between the CAN, that is the Christian Association, and the government, about this national value, religion and national values, which led to crisis. Which religion are you emphasizing? Whereas it's an outcome of curriculum contract, which is even called curriculum contract. People will just call their friends who are not specialists in education, come and fashion out curriculum for the school. What experience do they have? There are so many things that are messy. For example, even look at SUBEB, look at the ministries of education, you find the non-educationists are the ones that are holding forth, superintending over educational systems. These are the faults. And when they superintend, when the blind is leading the sighted, what did you expect?
Okay, let's look at Buhari's anti-corruption war, his fight against anti-corruption war. Has it yielded results so far? And then linking it with the situation of things in the country.
Let me tell you, it's more of propaganda. That is the way I see it. And it will fizzle out with the regime. Because the attitudinal change we need is not being propelled by looking at the various agencies of the community and make sure that they are all contributing. For example, I want to ask you, in this media house, how much of programs has the government brought in terms of the need for attitudinal change, for integrity, for discipline, for hard work? In terms of media propaganda, how much of it do you have? Rather, you just have NGOs on slots,
station-made programs,
or stations-made programs through your own initiatives. That is the defect of government on the media. On the family issue, when you talk about empowerment, look at empowerment at the grassroots. Get to the leaders in the various communities and identify the right type of programs that you have to alleviate for them. Not just using political sloganism to distribute some resources, line follow somewhere. You see, we have to take this thing holistically. The school system we are talking about, how much of effective programs are inculcated through the curriculum? For example, you cannot award marks for observing human behavior in the school system right now. Whereas in the advanced countries, a high percentage is allocated for behavior.
So, okay, so that should also form a major part of the school.
Yes, there is need for curriculum renewal and curriculum regeneration.
Now it's been identified and confirmed that many of the Nigerian families, which we have identified as a major group in this discourse fight against corruption, are not even on their own willing to sacrifice and support government in the fight against corruption. You tactically mentioned that many Nigerians are ready to mortgage their future just even for a loaf of bread. How do we fight this?
For example,
because Nigerians themselves are
we know that many Nigerian society is agrarian but not practicing agriculture. How much of help in terms of machineries, agricultural machineries, is the government giving to these agrarian families to help them easing agricultural production, boost agricultural production. What we are just hearing is go back to the farm, go back to the farm. You are not helping them with machineries. Sometimes, in most cases, during when it is to plow, you hardly find tractors that you will use on the farm. Most of these farmers will be groaning. These are practical ways of elevating their property. How many of the local governments are having tractors, plows, harvesters to assist the farmers, the agrarian farmers, so that you will elevate their poverty? A philosopher says, don't give me fish, teach me how to fish. What our governments have been doing is to give fish to people, especially people that are close to them, people they know, not teaching people how to fish. And what we need is to teach people how to fish.
Okay, let me put this to you. What is the fight against corruption to you? Because all we see today is recovery of stolen funds and then trying to rid the nation of corruption, and it's not correcting anything. What to you is the fight against corruption?
The fight against corruption, as at the moment, is mere recovery of loots, not attitudinal change for anti-corruption. After recovering the loot, what we are hearing is that even the loots are still getting to be looted somewhere, not accounted for. Thank God we learned that asset recovery committee had been set up by Mr. President. We hope that they will come up with a very rewarding report, and then making sure that the loot that are also recovered get back to the public, to the masses, in terms of improving their lifestyle. But for now, it remains a mere loot recovery, not attitudinal change.
Okay, don't you think Nigerians should be patient enough to go on or support Mr. President against this fight?
No.
Or our patience has elapsed?
Are we impatient?
Are we impatient?
Well, if we are impatient, I think they have to look at the approaches and the methodology. When your methodology is bouncing back, you evaluate your methodology and say, where are we getting it wrong that we are not having the support of the people? And it's because the people, in terms of the various agencies where people work or network, are not actually being used to promote anti-corruption. I've talked of the media, I've talked about the school system, the family itself. They are lacking in the machineries with which they will work on the farm to alleviate their poverty. How do you convince them that it's not mere recovery of loot to be spent by all other that maybe we don't know their own agenda also?
Realistically, Dr. Adetoro, when you look at the previous government's attempt to fight corruption, you just said it's attitudinal. That means it's something that has been with us for a very long time. So realistically, if you look at the effort of this administration, critics of this administration in that regard, are they not being unfair to this administration?
Those ones are even, they are worse, because those who cause the ailments cannot say those who are treating the ailments, even though they have not gotten it right totally, the medication right totally, are still unfair. So I think it's the pot calling the pot calling the kettle black. I think what is, you see, let us be realistic. I've mentioned where the shoes are paining from the societal angle now, from the family angle, from the school system, from the mass media system. Let them even look at all those things first and promote all what we said are gaps in their anti-corruption crusade. For example, How do motivate a worker to cherish your anti-corruption campaign when you are owing him 3 years of promotion arrears, increment arrears, and the like? Where is the motivation? That is the school system. So it's like you are contributing to the failure also somehow. And yet they are saying that you are recovering some loots that you said you are recovering. The family itself that are agrarian, they are mourning over lack of machineries for them to utilize on their farm, to easing their farming work. The mass media is not getting promoted on the anti-corruption work. The religious institutions are let loose, no control to support anti-corruption work. Rather, it is bring your tithe, bring what God has given you, you must pay.
Okay. Now you've been talking extensively about government angle. Now let's look at we, the people. Now in all this, we appear to also be mourning. Government because government has not provided electricity. That's why I'm jumping into the sea. It's because government has not given me loan. That's why I'm traveling by road out of the country to be enslaved when I know I'm going to be enslaved. You understand that it's because government I lost my job. That's why I'm going into kidnapping or into armed robbery because I know I can get money quickly from there. So let's look at we now in that angle. Are we calling not just mourning about government when we are down there, docile and not ready to do anything?
Because you cannot give what you don't have. We, the public, we, the masses, are we trained to persevere? Are we trained to have integrity in our life? Are we trained to be disciplined? For example, at this downturn, some of us decided to also go back to farming of the economy. So you see, I think the right type of orientation, the right type of value system is not there. So what
No,
we
this
need,
is what I want to find out, Dr. Adetoro.
yes,
In the face of all these things you have said about government not doing or doing inadequately,
yes,
what should we also be doing? Because it's not just enough to say it's because your father did not give you food to eat this morning. That's why you've gone out to steal food to eat.
it's
You
because you
understand
don't
that?
have the right type of education, you don't have the right type of behavioral dispensation. As rough as it is, as rough as it is, if people go to farming, they will still make something out at the end of the season. As rough as it is, if you are ready to take into many jobs like serving the bricklayers and the like, you still need
Maybe
to.
I should ask it this way: how can we inspire ourselves and encourage ourselves to survive without having to think about what government will do or is doing?
Well, of course, there is what we call coping mechanism, but it could be positive, it could be negative, depending on the type of orientation. It's unfortunate that the coping mechanism people are using is in negative form. That is what led them to Yahoo Yahoo, kidnapping, and the like. But the mass media, the school system, the religious institutions, we have to come alive to start changing people's orientation, at least campaigning for the right type of attitude. Otherwise, it will continue to be a kind of bad situation that we find ourselves. Even though when the government is money, the government has started a fight. And thank God, somebody else alerted when he started our fight that corruption will fight back, knowing fully well that it is cultural with Nigeria. That's why Wole Soyinka said, Mr. President should note that this corruption will fight back. And that is to the extent that he's calling his attention to say, use multifaceted approaches to solve corruption, not just one monolithic approach of arresting whoever is corrupt, arresting whoever is corrupt. There are certain propelling factors that make people to be corrupt. Somebody who is short change in salaries. How many of the workers can say his salary can take him home? And look at how long they have been dilly-dallying on reviewing the even minimum wage. You can imagine even our minimum wage is poorer than that of Chad Republic,
Okay,
poorer than that of Benin Republic.
All right, what will be the fate of this fight for corruption in Nigeria in years to come?
Well, we have to sustain the momentum even after this regime. Thank God that they have strengthened the institution of sanction. Then all other issues, all other sectorial attack against corruption must be taken up by subsequent regime, and that is how we can arrive there.
Now, I know there have been many verdicts on this from international body. They've given their own position statement as a result of researches they've done. And you've also just said, interestingly, that the minimum wage in Chad Republic is better than us. Is Nigeria the worst country to live in?
That is the irony of life. Nigeria is supposed to be the most pleasurable in Africa to live in, going by the resources, the multifaceted resources God has endowed us. We have not tapped other mineral resources aside crude oil. Gold is there, tin is there, coal is there, zinc is there, columbite. And that is talk very. Is it even our human resources? If they are so well developed, they could also help to generate revenue for the country by exporting good human resources. Of course, they will not buy bad human resources from you. We could be generating revenue.
So it's Nigeria. I want an answer.
So it's about leadership. It's about leadership. Right now, they are asking some aggregate group of leaders, the so-called legislature, declare what you earn per month. They refuse to do that.
Okay, quickly, what would be the major difference in the fight against corruption under former President Obasanjo and the present administration?
It is only the difference is in the method. And the methods, the approaches the two have used, they are still selective in terms of the approach and in terms of the, the coverage. Selective in the sense that I know the current Mr. President will also be surprised that even part of his cabinets were also being found guilty here and there. Look at the minor gate. Minor gate is still there. And everybody's still in darkness. So I think what we need is collective responsibility by all agencies of life in the community.
All right, at that point, we'll have to take this break for the national news to come up. After that, we will continue. We'll still have him with us, Dr. Rasheed Adetoro of the Department of Social Studies and Education, Federal College of Education, Chienye, Abeokuta. Stay tuned. Oh, yes, sir. It's good to know that you are still there. This is the second and the final half of the Citizens Forum Daybreak Show, Rock City 101.9 FM in the city of Abuja. And this morning with us is Dr. Rasheed Adetoro from the Department of Social Studies and Education, Federal College of Education, Chienye, and we are looking at the position of Mr. President on his fight against corruption. declaring that it's easier to fight Boko Haram insurgents than fighting corruption in Nigeria, which some people immediately analyze as mourning, as a sign of its being overwhelmed by corruption in the system. Well, a lot of issues have been raised by our guest. He's talking about the need to go into the other values that affects, promotes corruption. So it's attitudinal, it's cultural, and apart from the government agencies that needs to be strengthened, the family must be strengthened, and of course the school system must also be strengthened as a way of fighting um, poverty and the lack of education in the country. We'll be switching over the microphone to you, the listener. Let's get your questions, if there are any, opinion, comments on what you've heard so far from our guest, Dr. Rasheed Adetoro.
Well, at this juncture, we'll open the studio lines 0809 868
Woman are getting there. I'm Ola Uluade, I'm calling from Barcelona, Abeokuta. I want to see that there's a sharp difference between school or academic studies and practical reality. I want to say, no matter the level of research on corruption, if there is no integrity on the fighter, the research will fail popularly and abysmally. Why I want to repeat Alabi Sama on corruption. He said, the only man that has fought corruption frontally is Buhari. On the attitudinal shift, I think we have emphasized this enough that I want to bring here the golden statement of Barack Obama. That the change you desire will not come except you see yourself as the change itself. Change begins with you. That is attitudinal change. At least on this corruption fight, we have to start from somewhere, which I think the present government is doing. It may be 40, but I believe it is on track. It may be other than fighting insurgents because it is endemic. But at the end of the day, a landmark will have been said. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Hello, good morning. Good morning, sir. Fine, thank you. And you?
Morning.
Good morning, Dr. Adetoro.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, master.
I'm Taiwan, your body from Samson area. I'm going to say that yes, socialism somehow biased. When you say it is attitudinal, yes, everywhere. Even lecturers are corrupt.
Yes.
Lecturers who issue handouts, who give marks because of sex. But in politics, you have people who perpetrate themselves in office. Mugabe. In this country, somebody wanted to remain there when the third term. In religious organizations, look at somebody, general overseer, buying a jet when there are people in his church who are poor, who cannot who cannot eat 3 square meals.
Hello?
What are the antidotes you are recommending? Can you compare this government with the last government? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Hello? Well, else that call 0809 868 or 0909 146 9670. Hello,
I'm
name.
Mr. Dele.
Good morning.
Our guest, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Big Daddy.
Okay.
Hello, sir. I've heard all what you have been saying since morning. I credit you. But let me let you to understand one thing. I only want to ask one question.
Yes, sir.
It's so simple. Like delaying of justice in high court, whereby it takes so many years before they can judge any case. I'm only asking, is it the government, the present government is doing it, or the law? Because I found out that now Buhari goes their promise that you fight corruption, but we are yet to get any answer. Is it the justice or the present government that is doing it? And please, this school was closed just because of taking
taken to Ethiopia. Please, I want you to comment about that. What is that thing that is causing this thing? Because you could have known better than us. We have been hearing sort of stories from so many stories like that. Let me not just name something I'm not too sure. Please tell us more about that. Have a nice day.
You too, Big Daddy. Thank you. Hello, good morning. Hello. We have you. Good morning.
Sister Chienye, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Dele, Ayodo, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Dr. Adetoro, I salute you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And I pray, I say God bless you. God bless.
And you too, sir.
You will please allow me to quickly share my thoughts
Yes, sir.
on what you are discussing this morning.
Yes, sir.
Now, they are some of President Buhari's associates who are in the government, who are still looking. Yet the president is not doing anything. The president that the president is using cannot work. The reason is that for him to prosecute corruption successfully, what I think the government, the president should do is to start with those who have been in charge of EFCC. We will start from the Badru to Ibrahim Lamode, to Farida Waziri, and to our present one, Ibrahim Magu. Then we will go deep into Michael Anduata, go to Adoke and Abubakar Malami as the Minister of Justice. Let me conclude quickly by saying, fighting corruption without first investigating these offices and officers, like fighting cancer with air freshener. Thank you so very much. God bless you. God bless Rockcity and God bless Nigeria.
God bless you too. Hello. Hello. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, my sister.
Good morning.
Good morning. No. Dele, I greet you.
Good morning.
Doctor, good morning, sir.
It's a pleasure, sir.
I greet you, sir.
Thank you.
Please, you don't be intimidated by anybody at all. I want to say that I am giving you 100% concerning the discussion you have probably on this morning. I'm Kalde from Abeokuta. Let me say this. You see, the fight against corruption, we cannot win it except we have a leader that we believe in the worth and value of others. You know why I'm saying this? At the inception of this fight of corruption of a thing, Buhari told us that it belongs to nobody. It belongs to everyone. He's quoting from 2 Corinthians or 1 Corinthians now or something like that. But I believe that people were seeing him as probably being one-sided, which I am not yet believing that it was so. But I can now see the reason why some people are saying this. Because APC government has failed us. Let me tell you, it's unfortunate that I voted for this government. And then I will not be selfish this morning by saying that I am not confident, I don't have confidence in this corruption of a fight of a team any longer. You see, the brainstorming issue has become so much. You can hear on the radio this morning or in the paper, $65 million. Why should we continue to blame and blame? How will you think that corruption fight that Buhari is fighting now will be able to be brought to a logical conclusion if we continue to blame all the time? Are you with me? You see, it's almost 3 years now that this man has been there. So if I want him to work,
begin
he
to
should
submit.
be committed like Ghanaian leaders have said, my game is up because my time was up. You see, but unfortunately, the additional change has not been there. It's not
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Right, we add this call and
Hello?
then check the messages and tweets. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Dele. Good morning, Chienye.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Adetoro. My name is Dr. Confirm.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Adetoro, I've listened to you.
Yes.
Your talk this morning sounds like an lecture in a sociology university. And one, I wish you had more to discuss on the dilate.
Okay,
One,
sir.
when you have a chronic problem, you must have the active phase. What do you do immediately? And what's the long term?
Okay.
Buhari has just been in government for 2 years or plus. You don't institute the attitudinal change. I agree with you that Nigeria corruption is a culture. I believe in it. Even in this platform, it's been demonstrated day in, day out. But you don't expect him to go into that yet. This is the active phase. This word corruption is not working. Ask the vice chancellor. It's not difficult to give money now. Ask the rectors now. That is the thing we are talking about. But we must block it. We were bleeding to death. So when people say, okay, well, Buhari again has failed, and I said, what is it failure? Is it because we don't have that situation to do that? It is working. And it continues to work. Discussing corruption in Nigeria, like discussing corruption in Buhari's regime. Let us not bring the PDP regime. What we are discussing is a dynamic is corruption we started earlier. Talk of what did he make on the floor? What has he been able to do? That is the discussion. So you cannot talk about changing culture, changing religion, changing telling lecturers also same papers. Admission, you know that admission in universities, polytechnics, and college education, money racket.
Approaching 2 minutes, sir.
Yes, it's why telling you not to do that. Is that a Nigeria change you're talking of?
Thank you.
That is the problem. And we can go more, but let's stop here.
Thank you.
Okay, for the messages via the shortcut dial. Good morning, my people in the house. Let me appreciate the contributions of the scholar in the house. Corruption has been endemic in our society. Therefore, holistic measures must be put in place to fight this monster, and there is need for attitudinal change of every Nigerian. Sunday from Ashiru sent in that message. Then we have an SOS here. Good morning. Please come to our aid in Ayodo Yewanov. All the filling stations are selling fuel at 170 naira per liter up till this morning, and we don't know why. Please help us, sir. Then Ikechukwu Lisa sent in this message. Mr. Dele, you don't need someone to tell you what will happen to any snake that refuses to act as a snake. PMB is fighting corruption. To God be the glory. Because it's a weed that needs to be rooted out, but those weeds are very strong and hard for him to uproot because the seeds that germinated the weeds we are yet to know. That's a message from Ikechukwu Olisa. Then for the tweets via our Twitter handle. Any corruption that does not involve looting of funds, this government is not interested in it. Instead of seizing the End SARS initiative and use that to reform the corruption-ridden police, they turned it into political shenanigans. That's a tweet from Yemi Da Vinci. Then we have more tweets here. APC is not fighting corruption, rather they are blowing the whistle. Empty barrels make the loudest noise. The one that holds water will never make noise. That's from Ayodo Shegun. Then we have another tweet from Yemi Da Vinci. Yes, this administration is only concerned with looting, recovery, and punishing opposition figures. Else, it won't have taken so long to act against Babachir Lawal. Ayodo Shegun also tweeted, this administration needs to go back to Baba Obasanjo to go and learn from his method, because they are not fighting corruption at all. Yemi Da Vinci again, I agree with Dr. Adetoro completely. We need to fight corruption in a multi-layered and multifaceted way, else we are just deceiving ourselves. Akorede Camille also tweeted, the current administration is trying its best to put an end to corruption, but I make bold to say some indices are still lacking to make this achievable. I think the right terminology has to be used to define corruption because it doesn't equate to only stealing. Akinde Ebenezer also tweeted, the damage has been done for years. To correct it may take time, and with time and patience we'll get there. Ebenezer Akinde from Ayodo tweeted, the damage has been done for years and we need to correct it, but that will take time. I totally agree with Doctor on this submission. That's a tweet from Akinde Ebenezer. Then Ayodo Shegun again, no, which way Nigeria? No, poor administration is killing us in Nigeria, and so I don't support it at all. We don't have good leaders. Oluwasegun Sam Alalade, forces behind corruption are more powerful than the government. No doubt corruption is part of us, and the government needs total overhauling of Nigerians right from primary school, the churches, mosques. More so, they should strengthen our constitution to be able to cater for corruption cases. Delani Roberts also tweeted, the judge and lawyers should not look at the shortcoming of the law to help corrupt people win cases in the law court. And more tweets from Delani Roberts. Our system is highly corrupt and the judicial system is not helping matters at all. The federal government's method in fighting corruption is good, but the system is bad. That's why people can easily pinpoint that the method is not good. And then more tweets trickling in. Another one from Yemi Da Vinci. Every Nigerian is not a seeker, including myself. How will we see anything wrong with the abuse of office when even as clerks, messengers and lecturers, we abuse office? Akorede Camille tweeted, the best method of approach to fighting corruption is to prevent it. Anyone familiar with the concept of corruption knows that it is a universal problem, but we need to understand it, and the limit of inquiry must be fixed. Bright Ovie also tweeted, Buhari is just fighting opposition. Why didn't he probe Rochas that erected a status worth 500 million naira? That's a tweet from Bright_Ovie. Over to the resource person to address the issues that have been raised.
Thank you, the moderator. Well, most of the comments actually border on the perception of the public generally and why they are losing confidence in the approach. For example, they are talking about justice delayed. Justice delayed is a result of lack of reform in our judiciary system. A lot of technicalities that are frivolous and so on are always used to delay justice. And there is this axiomatic expression that says justice delayed is justice denied. So that we have some corruption cases that are as long as 7 years, 8 years, 9 years that are still being trashed in our judiciary. Thank God, I think the National Judicial Council, headed by the Chief Justice, is trying to address that by at least setting some courts as special courts for corruption trial. I hope this one will be able to curb this delay in justice. Then the rottenness in the cabinet of Mr. President himself, that is why he's getting worried. That's why people feel that the man is even money. Because as we all see it, it's like some just few individuals, perhaps the president and the vice president, that they are the Lone Rangers fighting this corruption with sincerity of purpose in the cabinet. Then the fight against corruption is the worth and value of yes. And that's why we are saying that rather than looking at the sanction process, let us look at the totality of all other agencies that promote and contribute to corruption, and also attack corruption from that end, so that it will not be seen as if we are not valuing all other systems. Of course, the blaming game is too much. Even Amechi, the Minister of Transport, had also said that they better stop now, otherwise it's almost becoming a mockery of the century. Then the chronic, yes, Dr. Income said it's a chronic problem. That's why we said it's cultural. I agree that Mr. President, being a military man, had been able to tackle it from the head. Then let us institutionalize the anti-corruption war by strengthening all other agencies that will assist in promoting good value system. The issue of the SARS issue is now in the front burner. Well, like we said, it's endemic. Corruption is endemic throughout the various agencies of government in Nigeria. So SARS is not an exception. So they have to look at it also and sanitize it. Yes, somebody mentioned what actually strikes my mind. That's the strengthening of our constitution. We want to use this medium to appeal to our legislators, please, to actually do what will last humanity. we need to strengthen our anti-corruption crusade through a very good constitution. You find out that our constitution appears being a toy for now, such that you find out that even such that recently also the legislators also wanted to have immunity on corruption inbuilt into the constitution. I think we should be serious, and we should be seen as a serious body. So our constitution should be made very firm to actually address the issue of corruption in terms of being assertive, so that not everything will be pushed to the judiciary alone. For example, whatever should demand execution or whatever has been done elsewhere could be handled by the constitutional provision. Then prevention is better than cure. Yes, I agree. Now we have the ailment already, so it's not talking of prevention again. We have to cure, and in curing also we have to look at all the various sectors that promote corruption. Somebody said using poly to hypocrisy. Well, I don't know much about that. I think that is within the purview of the government of the Ogun State. What we know is that Rasheed Adetoro Polytechnic had been upgraded to a University of Science and Technology, and that necessitated moving that one to hypocrisy. Then again, it's about corruption when you see that people who are selling public products above the pumping price. There's who are selling liters of oil beyond 145 naira in Ayodo. We just want to appeal that I think there is an agency that is supposed to monitor.
I'm not sure.
That is the Department of Petroleum
I'm not
Resources.
really sure. Yes, if they are here, the Department of the DPR, Department of Petroleum Resources, please. That's an information for you to act upon. Ayodo, somebody just said, fuel is being sold for 170 naira per liter. That seems to tally with what you are saying about the individual that people want to use the opportunity
to cheat the others
and say they are maximizing. That's what they. So whereas you are inflicting pains,
and that is why the media has to be promoted to continue campaigning against abuse of office. That is an abuse of office. Definitely the attendants there wants to maximize profits to their pocket.
On his own.
It's not the government, it's individual making there. So and that's why we need campaign for attitudinal change. And that is why the government must promote jingles against corruption on various media, so that such petty corruption can at least.
Do we have petty corruption?
Yes, we have. That one is petty corruption at the individual's level there. We have three categories.
So it can be excused.
It's not excused. It starts from there. It starts from petty to grandiose. Right. So we better start warning them and campaigning against such bad attitude.
Okay, let's move over to the telephones.
Okay, 0809-868-7344.
Good morning, my sister. Good morning, Dele, Ayodo.
Thank you for calling back.
Yeah. Dr. Adetoro, how are you? Good morning.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah, my name is Honorable Jaji Larije. I'm calling from the People's Parliament in Abeokuta. Dr. Adetoro, you have done wonderfully well. I've listened to you. But the truth of the matter is, in fairness, this government has really tried. I mean, it initiated it. But quite unfortunate that they are, lopsided somehow. I mean, one can see what Obasanjo did. You don't believe that during Obasanjo's regime, Papa even dealt with most of his closest friends, closest, associates. Don't ask anybody. Go back to history. You understand that if you have found one thing, you have found culpable. I know Baba will want to deal with you and make sure that bring the money that is in your custody, number one. And if I is not taking him, I want to do other things. So it's better if they really want to fight it, let them fight it. Equally, let everybody that is found culpable, give it the necessary punishment, collect the money, and then that give them necessary punishment. Let me allow other people to call. God bless you people over there. God bless Nigeria.
God bless you too. Thank you. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is Folakim.
Thank you for calling.
Resource person, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I salute you. I salute your courage. You have done well. Well, if anybody is defending this government, each time I hear that, I laugh. And why? Because it is obvious that the approach is selective. There's no doubt about that. I give you some instances. For instance, the president of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, recently alleged that the money recovered from looters, they are now tampering with that money, especially these securities, the agencies fighting corruption. That is one. Two, look at Obanikoro. You see, his case was a very serious one that generated a lot of waste. Today is a member of APC. Nobody talks about that. There are so many people in APC, alleged of corruption. But it appears this government is not interested. So rather, the opponents are suffering. And from that standpoint, one can actually say it is selective. So I give you, I salute your colleague. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Alaji Ayonuga Power. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, man.
I don't know whether you are aware or you know when our president visited the former president before his election. I mean, before the president was voted in, during the campaign, he visited Baba Vasanjo. And first, Baba, when Baba wants to say the truth, he will be laughing, cracking jokes. That is saying the truth. He then said, he remember when he was the head of state, somebody traveled down and he bought him a shoe. And he saw that shoe is too expensive for him. Let's just put that one aside. Baba jokingly said, some money, maybe PTF money, was used to maybe for mosquito net. Then that will be cracking jokes. Those of us that know him very well will listen because we know we want to bring something crucial out. So it's corruption in this country, only contact,
All right, we're going to the messages. Thank you. Messages, please.
Okay, for the short code dial, we have this one from Ikechukwu Olisa. I am not a prophet, but I can see what will be the end of the corruption fighters. How can you expect to succeed with your fight where there is poverty and hunger in the land? As for me, I think that PMB should shift a little on corruption and focus more on what will put food on the table of a common man if he must win the war. That's a suggestion from Ikechukwu Olisa. PDP ruled for 16 years. We're talking about corruption. We elected PMB in 2015. Buhari in civilian rule, not military. Everybody is fixing the blame. Nobody fixes the problem. All we need is self-discipline and also appeal to our judiciary to love this country. I observe that anybody that steals a loaf of bread is quickly jailed, but using many years to do the case of anybody that steals billions of naira. Ayodo from Ward 4, Abeokuta North, sent in that message. I have been a patron of a mechanic workshop at a tipper garage. There is an access road that leads to that place, and this road has been eaten up by erosion. Demola Uyewole sent in that message. And then for tweets via our Twitter handle, we have this one from Akorede Camille. History will be very kind to PMB if he channels his energy to fighting corruption under his watch, rather than dissipate resources going after past regimes while his men are doing the same thing. It's better to shine the light than to curse the darkness. Ayodo Shegun, PDP laid the foundation of corruption. APC now built a 4-story building with propaganda. God heal Nigeria and deliver the masses from Jegudu Jera. Akurede Camille also tweeted, I want our guest to please give his take on the issue of repatriation of looted funds. Does he agree with the people that say these funds shouldn't be entrusted to the current government? Isaac Oloyede tweeted, corruption is a big task to fight in Nigeria because it has eaten deep into our body. Buhari is the only person fighting corruption. Yemi Da Vinci, Dr. Adetoro, what do you think is the difference in the corruption in Nigeria and in a place like Russia where corruption is also said to be high, but public facilities and utilities work?
All right. Yes, unfortunately, we may not be able to take all of this matter. Don't worry. We'll keep the debate on the open. The doctor Adetoro, you have 3 minutes to respond to all these issues raised.
Thank you, the moderator. I actually agree with one of the speakers that said, if our people are consciously educated, by now we should have occupied our National Assembly. That is true. That should have been solution, because the way they are handling corruption cases is like a pawn, and we just need to forcefully, actually, according to him, occupy their seat of power. Well, that is possible only if you have an enlightened citizenry that is patriotic. And where is the patriotism when people are hungry? People cannot feed themselves, and you want them to go and challenge the authority. Well, God help us. I think we will get to that stage. Then that it is advisable that PMB should shift to tackle poverty. In fact, it's mentioned. Yes, because poverty is very pervasive in the land, and you cannot appeal to a hungry mind. So you need to actually, the government must actually put food on the table of the people, practically. Then whether the government can be trusted with the repatriated looted funds. Well, I think history will always judge every government. And thank God he has set up an asset recovery committee that is going to audit and account for every recovered loot. We hope that this will be made public when the time comes. Then the corruption, there is virtually no country that is immune against corruption. It's only that they have institutions that are against corruption that are working well. Even in US, even in Britain, in Russia, there are cases of corruption there. But what is very, very important is that the welfare of the people is paramount, and everybody is happy with his social life, and that the institutions that are guiding against corruption are are made to work very well. And so that's what we need in Nigeria.
All right. Yes, we have to end it here. We must say a big thank you to our guest this morning, Dr. Rasheed Adetoro from the Federal College of Education, Department of Social Science, Sociology, and Education. And of course, to you, the listener, yes, you've also been wonderful every day on the program. I say thank you too. Dele Ayodo is my name. I say God bless you all. God bless Nigeria, and God bless Rock City.
And I am Chienye Egwuonwu. Let's continue in the fight with the presidents to rid the nation of corruption. Good morning.